All right, hey everyone, welcome back. Taking a look at this. This is the concealed carry handgun that I've been using quite a bit lately. This is the Taurus 709 Slim, or the PT 709 Slim. You might hear it. It is a 9mm concealed carry pistol. It's a 7-7 stack, so you get 7 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, so 7 plus 1. It's not bad. It's actually probably more than what most folks will need, and that's certainly an argument for another day, but I just want to talk about this, the things that I've done to it, and what you can do if you're interested in purchasing one of these. So you'll have to buy it in the used market. It's no longer manufactured. It was manufactured from 2013 to 2014, and then I believe they did a recall not too long ago in like 2019, many years later, for this thumb safety. The thumb safety that's here, when the firearm would be dropped, sometimes this would cause the firearm to discharge a round if there was a round there in the chamber. It was pretty popular when this came out. You'll find a lot of videos on it. I'm surprised you're watching my video on it because there are quite a few out there. So single stack, we'll talk about the magazine in a second. This isn't the stock magazine. This is a magazine from Pro Mag, which is irritating because you got that little gap down there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you got your magazine release obviously here. This is the slide release. This is the thumb safety, and that's very easy to manipulate. You've got a double action trigger, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The double action trigger has this safety mechanism, so you actually have to really get around it. You've got to have a grown-up hand to actually engage that little center section of the trigger to be able to pull this. You've got some Glock style takedown rails, so it's very easy to take down the gun, and then whether you're ambidextrous or not, you've got a lot of nice little ergonomics here and there for for hand positioning. Now I have pretty small hands. You can see I can get two and a half, barely get my pinky on there, and that's a big selling point for a lot of people because this is a very small firearm. It's barely an inch here in length, or not in length, but width here on the stock. And then let me look at some other specs here. I'm on the website. Barrel length is 3 inches. The overall length of the gun is 6 inches, and then it is exactly an inch wide there. So you get this nice high and tight grip. It is striker fired in here, so it's all internal, which is very, very nice. Made in Brazil. Talked about that before. 7 plus 1. The weight's a little on the heavy side, and we'll talk about that as kind of a con. It's obviously a polymer lower frame that's here, and then the slide is where the majority of the weight is. This overall weighs 19 ounces, which I would say is probably on the higher side for a compact 7 plus 1 pistol. Again, chambered in 9mm. They do have a 709 Slim that's chambered in 40 caliber, but that is a 6 plus 1, so you lose a round due to that. So let's talk about pros and cons. Pros is obviously the price. It's $199 or less since the used market is kind of flooded with these things. It's absolutely cheap. It's wonderfully made. It's very reliable. It'll shoot any kind of junk ammo. It is not It's not picky at all. I even shoot steel case ammunition in this, which is a hot topic, and you really don't get any complaints from the gun. Much like Glocks and other things like that, it does have a chamber loaded indicator up here. This firearm is obviously not loaded for safety reasons, but this will pop up, and it has red. It'll show red down here when there's a chamber in the round. There's also a safety on this side, and we'll talk about some of the included parts. If you're storing this gun long term, there is a sort of a screw hole that's here that you can lock this down, and it will lock the slide and the trigger in place for long-term storage. That's kind of where these parts come in. They give you a little sort of a screwdriver piece here that you can adjust sights and that lock, and then there's sort of a trigger guard or a trigger flag here for protecting that from children. Taurus and their packaging is always very weak. It's to be expected. Obviously, as a budget-friendly firearm, it just comes in a box. Doesn't come with any cases, doesn't come with anything flashy, just that little bag of goodies that you saw there. The firearm is very easy to conceal. There's a variety of different cases that you can get for it. This is just what I've been using. It's just something that you can throw in the pocket to help this print a little bit less, and it works out okay. I haven't carried as much as maybe I should. A big complaint is obviously if you've got some larger hands, and I've got very, very small hands, but larger hands, you can kind of see the problem here. A lot of people like to have that good grip on there. So a couple complaints that I've had, couple changes that I've made. The sights on this are obviously not the stock color. They do not come like this. I've painted them. A little DIY project. They come in all white, and it's not bad, but it's not good. So I've seen a lot of people that will paint them. If you don't want to spend the money for some of the aftermarket products that are available through a couple different third-party manufacturers, you can easily double the cost of this gun in improvements. You can buy fiber optic sights, and they're $200 or $300 or even more, and this gun costs $200. So it's sometimes hard to justify that. So in the meantime, that's what I've done. I've just slapped some paint on there, and that actually worked pretty well. Obviously in well-lit scenarios, in the middle of the night or in a poorly lit area, this color is really not going to stand out, and it's not intended to. But at the range, it's definitely a nicer sight picture. Another thing, you always want to buy more magazines. This only comes with one magazine, just one. And this is not the stock one. This is the one that came from Pro Mag. The original stock magazines from Taurus will actually have a yellow insert up here. And the magazines are fine. They're nothing special. They are made out of aluminum or maybe steel. Here it's metal, and then you've got some plastic pieces on the bottom and here at the top. The one from Pro Mag is fine. I wish they would have designed it a little bit better, or maybe it just needs to break in. But you can obviously see the problem that's there. Every magazine that I've had from Taurus has a nice flush fit. This one does not. So there is a solution for that. I'll give you a sneak peek at this. This is the actual magazine from Taurus here, and I have put on a Pierce grip extension. So that obviously has a much more flush fit here, but now you can see we've got some room down here. So you can actually take off the plate that's on here. It's easy to do. Just be careful because the spring comes flying out at you if you're not ready for that. And you can put an extension on here. These extensions are a couple bucks a piece. I think it was $10 or $11 for two of them. And even myself, that has some small hands, you can really get a much firmer grip on there. And obviously, the more grip you get, the more hand you can get on this, the sturdier it's going to be. Is this the most accurate gun in the world? Abso-freaking-lutely not. But a lot of that is, skill-based. And generally, smaller firearms are less accurate. That's just the nature of the firearm situation. Think about it. Bigger guns are always more accurate. You've got a bigger gun like a hunting rifle or something like that. That's much more accurate at much more distances. But then if you get back into the handguns are obviously wildly less accurate unless you're, a very seasoned professional or a very seasoned marksman. Larger guns, full-size guns, and there's some more gun reviews on this channel to come. You'll be able to see, some. Maybe we'll go down to the range and we'll talk about that. But this is a perfectly accurate gun in a self-defense concealed carry scenario, inside 20 feet, where most defend yourself scenarios are going to occur. Is it the most accurate gun? Absolutely not. Do you need to practice and continue to practice and do dry fire training and get very familiar with this firearm? Absolutely. And I certainly recommend this. But generally, larger firearms are much more accurate. That includes larger handguns. But larger handguns are obviously much more difficult to conceal carry. So that's certainly something to be mindful of. The sights on here, Again, not good, not bad. There is some adjustments here. So you've got some screws here on the side. Let me get a little bit closer so we can see that. You've got some screws here on the side that will adjust windage, or your left and right movement of the sights. And then up here at the top, you've got a screw here that will adjust your elevation, or your up and down. So that gives you some options there. Let me talk about other cons. These sights up here are freaking razor sharp. So taking this in and out of concealment, man, be careful, because some of these edges on this firearm, not so much the back, sometimes the tips of the sights here that are plastic. This is a steel, or feels like steel, maybe aluminum, machined aluminum down there. Very, very sharp. Same thing with even like the corners of the gun. The corners of the gun here are weirdly sharp. So getting it in and out of concealment, I've definitely nicked myself up a couple times doing that. So I'll shut up now. I'll just kind of rotate the gun around here, do a little Vanna White kind of thing, and you guys can take a good look at that. If you have any questions, by all means, leave them in the comments section. If you're a 709 owner, maybe you've done some modifications, let me know. There's obviously no rail or anything like that down here to put any lights on, so that's you could always consider that a con, but for a $200 gun, it's very hard to complain. There are some lasers that you can put down here from Viridian and Crimson Trace that will actually like clip on to this section here. The trigger guard that's here is nice. It's huge. It's really huge. So whether your hands are gloved or not, it's very easy to get your hand in here and get ready to operate the firearm. Very easy to flick that safety off in that scenario. Sometimes I'll leave a round chambered in here, and it's very easy to get this out, knock that safety off, and you're ready to go. So, and again, any questions, leave them in the comments section. If you haven't won and you've maybe done some mods or other things like that that's worked, let me know, because I'm certainly looking to invest a little bit more in this firearm. So definitely want to buy more magazines for it. It only comes with one. If you've got some larger hands, definitely want to invest in these Pierce grips. That obviously works out very well. Be careful where you're buying your magazines from. I always recommend buying the OEM, original manufacturer magazines, so you don't run into any issues with regards to that. So you may spend a couple more bucks, but probably going to be a little bit better experience, because I'm not completely satisfied with this magazine from Pro Mag in terms of its fit and finish, and we'll see how it does when we start putting a lot of rounds through it. So that's all I have for you guys. I don't want to let this video run too long. Stay tuned. We've got some more firearms we're going to be taking a look at here very soon.